In today's video, I'm going to be installing a few super rare parts I recently picked up for my Saab 900. Let's get into it. We're going to be installing some rare parts on my Saab 900 Turbo sitting here right behind me. And after we do that, I want to take this thing for a drive and tell you guys about some of the issues it's still having. So let's kind of unbox what I've got in my milk crate here. There's a couple of things in here I'm super excited about. First item you can already see is just a new side marker light. Mine is cracked all at the top here from the hood being dented. So I got a new one of these that is crack free. The most exciting piece I'm going to save for last, and I will show you guys this in a second. This right here is just the trim that goes over the glove box. These are known for kind of peeling on the corners over time. Mine isn't super bad, but it is peeling. So I grabbed a new one of these. We'll clean up and install. As for the couple of 9.3 parts, I got an airbag just to have a spare. Honestly, this is a pre-recall airbag. So this one should be good, but I wanted to have a spare because these are very hard to find and you usually can't buy them at junkyards. We also have a new passenger rear window regulator and motor that I need for the 9.3. Again, these are kind of the two more boring pieces. And then the last boring thing before I get into the exciting stuff is this little bracket. So this sits right over the top of the front motor mount where the transmission bolts to the frame. This is right behind the radiator. And it sits on here. There's a rubber bushing and the stopper that goes over it. Mine is missing this bar, so we'll clean this up, get it painted, and install it in this video. Now onto the two pieces I am most excited about. First off are some fog light cages. I've always liked how they look. I know they're pretty rare, so I'm excited to not only be able to pick up a set, but install them on the car, see how they look, and also with living in the desert, hopefully prevent rocks from getting kicked up and smashing my fog lights. I do actually have one more small item to show you after this new steering wheel, but check this thing out. This was the score of a century. As you can see, it's very dirty and dusty. It has a couple little nicks in it, unfortunately, but this steering wheel, I'll put the name of it on the screen right here because from what I remember, it's kind of hard to pronounce. These are extraordinarily rare to the point where I can only find one online for sale, and it's for sale for more than I paid for my whole 900. And the last little piece we'll be adding to the garage somewhere in this video, I haven't exactly decided where yet, is this cool Saab sign for oil and fluids. I guess back in the day, Saab must have had their own brand of coolant and oil, so super cool. We'll have to hang this up in the garage somewhere. When I did the steering wheel restoration on the current wheel in the 900, I used alcohol to help really clean and decontaminate the surface before we went ahead and sanded, added the glue, and ultimately painted it. Because we're not going to be doing a full restoration on this, I'm not going to clean it with alcohol because I don't want to dry this leather out. So what we are going to do to start though is just use some basic cleaner on it and at least get all this dust and crap off. Since I have it out, might as well just hit it with some mink oil. So this we're just going to use on my fingers and kind of massage it into the leather. We're going to do this once a day for 2 to 3 days, and when we're done, it should feel a lot softer. In the meantime, let's get this bracket and these bolts cleaned up and ready to paint. Cocaine to my nose, there got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine to my nose, there got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Another item we can take care of now is hanging up this banner. So this is 5 feet long by 2 feet wide. That unfortunately means that it is a little bit too tall to hang up right here or right here, which was kind of my initial plan. There's actually just under 5 feet from the top of the counter to the ceiling. So that's not going to work. And it is unfortunately just a bit too wide to put right here, a bit too wide to put right there, which really only leaves me with one spot to put it back here in this corner, which is where I had this hanging before. Does that look good? I know the garage lighting sucks. I have some upgraded garage lighting here to fix all this dark space on the back half of the garage. But I think this looks pretty good. It actually fits just about perfectly in this spot. So I tried to space it evenly between these other license plates as opposed to between the water softener lines and the edge of the license plate. I think it looks pretty good that way. 1 nail in the bottom, 2 up top. Yeah, that thing's not going anywhere. This is a super, super cool poster. Did the mink oil once a day for 3 days, and it's now time to wipe this all up and see how it feels. This mink oil is great. It's so like greasy and oily that it takes a lot of wiping to get it off. But I can tell you already, the steering wheel, the leather just feels so much smoother. I think it's kind of restored some of the black to the wheel. I mean, it was just super dirty before, so based on when we started this video, it already looks way better just from the simple wipe down, but this looks awesome. I'm super happy with how this turned out. So what we'll do now is take our leather cleaner and conditioner and just wipe a nice layer of this onto the wheel, let it sit for a bit, and then we'll kind of buff it off. With the steering wheel done, we are going to do the same thing here. We're just going to clean it and then put some conditioner on it. No mink oil for this. This turned out pretty awesome. Let's do these fog light cages next, although these are going to be even simpler. We just need to get all the dust and crap off of them. Fog light cages cleaned up pretty well. Let's go ahead and start by throwing these on because it'll be super simple. There's kind of a cool before and after. Definitely looks a little cleaner without the cages. Main reason for getting these was with all the rocks we have out here in the desert that get kicked up by cars they're driving, help protect the fog light. I also have always thought they look cool. I think for now I'm actually going to wait on doing the corner light over there, mainly because I would hate for this new light to get cracked in the same spot due to the hood being a little bit dented there. So I think I'll probably wait to put this on until we get a new hood in the future. So that just leaves us with these few items. The engine's actually hot right now. I just drove the car, so I'm gonna let it cool off before we tackle this, which means let's knock out these. Now, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love this steering wheel in the car. There's not really much I would really ever want to change it out for, except in the case like this. So honestly, there's a good chance I might swap between the wheels depending on which one I'm feeling, since they're so easy to replace. But let's pop this one off. Thankfully, it's a lot easier than doing it in the 9.3s, especially on cars like this without the airbags. You just pop off this leather cover here. The steering shaft it's grooved, but it doesn't have a specific groove pattern on it that allows it to only be installed one way. So this, we want to take it off in the same position we put the new one on in. Just kind of wiggles off. There we go, that's on there. This piece is a bit weird if you do happen to be installing the same steering wheel, just because of how unique the shape is. You can only peel up parts of it. This last side down here, you have to push off that way. Slide this bottom corner in first. The rest of the leather just fits over there nice and smooth. Sweet. Oh, I am super pleased with how this steering wheel has turned out. It really just adds another unique aspect to the car. But let's tackle the glove box cover next. Glove box cover is pretty easy to remove. There are just 4 Phillips head, 2 on each side. The only thing we need to swap over is this locking mechanism. So removing that is actually incredibly easy. There's this little U-shaped plastic clip back here. You just spread that apart, slides right off, and you come to the front, squeeze it, and it slides right out. I'll just pinch it in again, slides back into place, and then I'll put the U-clip back in. Incredibly easy. And lastly, before we talk about a lot of the issues this car is still having, we need to install this engine bracket here. So this sits right in front, right down there. You see that shiny part is the front of the transmission where that big nut is at. And that essentially sits right over that on top of the motor mount and kind of just holds it in place a little bit better. I'm thinking there's a half decent shot I can get to this without removing any of these intake pipes, but we'll see. At the junkyard I had to pop off this intake pipe. There it is, installed down there. Ignore the dirty bolt. I may or may not have lost one of the new bolts I painted, but I think it's time to get this thing cleaned up, get myself cleaned up. Let's take it for a drive and talk about the issues it's still having. Seeing this thing out in the sun with all the upgrades, I love how these fog light cages look. I was worried they might look a little bit bulky and kind of distract from the overall front end, but the bars on them are pretty thin, so it's still going to obviously output a good amount of light too. But I'm really happy with how the fog light cages look. Secondly, obviously the steering wheel. Look at that. That looks so cool. Really just adds more of an 80s vibe to this interior. Pretty hyped with how this turned out, but I think without further ado, let's take this thing for a little bit of a drive. So do you remember earlier in the video when I said we want to take it off in the same position we put the new one on in? Well, I admittedly had to end up messing around with the steering wheel off camera in order to make sure the horn works. And in that process, lost track of what was straight and what wasn't. And so now my steering wheel is off by about 30 degrees. So when I get back to the house, that will be the first thing I'm doing. But first impressions of this steering wheel, it's not quite as soft. It's kind of got a different feeling to it than mine. Main reason being, I think, because obviously my current wheel had been restored, but also just because this is original leather. So it kind of has a different feel I'm not quite used to in this car yet, but in terms of the looks, I think it's pretty sweet. And I think if this car has some more like 80s persona added to it, it'll make the steering wheel work even better with the car. Let's get to what's going on with this car, because I know not too long ago I made a garage update talking about the thing and saying that I'm still trying to figure out all the leaks, and we have made some progress on that, and I'm not going to go into extreme detail here. I'm going to keep it quick. I will have an entire video coming, hopefully not too far in the future, fixing some of those leaks, and also taking it to IMM, our local Saab shop, to fix the stuff that I couldn't. So where we're kind of at in the process at this moment as I'm recording this is I've attempted to fix all the leaks. I have failed on some of them. I took it to IMM to have them diagnose it, repair some of them. In order to fix the rest of the leaks, they're gonna have to pull some more stuff apart, possibly order some parts. It's gonna be another 1 or 2 weeks. So they asked me if I wanted to come pick up the car for the weekend to have. So I will be taking it to a meet tomorrow, which will be nice. But long story short, by the time you're seeing this video, the thing's gonna be back in the shop. So hopefully before too long, I'll be able to confidently say we are leak-free and celebrate, and I don't know what, but I'm gonna be so excited when that day comes. But that's kind of where we're at, is at this moment, some of the leaks are solved, but they're not all solved. So progress is progress, right? And the goal is to have IMM finish that out for me and fix everything, let the professionals handle it. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of the new parts. I am really digging the fog light cages. I'm loving the new steering wheel. The new glove box trim obviously looks really nice now that I'm seeing it. It's actually the first time I've looked at it in the car. One other thing we'll have coming up is the 500 miles since the rebuild. So I plan on doing a video on that, kind of doing the break-in oil change, and then also probably taking it for a drive and really getting on it for the first time. So you'll see that video, hopefully also not in the too super distant future, but it all kind of depends on these leaks and those getting solved. But thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. I'll see you all next time.